Today, we're looking at Diamine Registar's Blue Black. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Diamine Registar's Blue Black is really green. I'm going to say it's a blue black. I'm going to list it under blue black. It comes across much more green to me in all of the writing, swabs, and everything else. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I put the ink into a different pen for a day. I then put it into a Levenger TrueWriter with a broad nib to take my notes for this video. Now before we get to the writing samples, let's look at the sciencey bits. Up first is the chromatography. And I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And what we see is this gray line across the bottom that's very there, even immediately in the water. Now the blue pushes its way up, and then we see a large separation before this golden yellow occurs at the top. The one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And the only difference I'm noticing is that the line across the bottom is darker and more there. Otherwise, you really can't tell the difference between them. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it is to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it is completely and totally unaffected by being highlighted 3 days later. It didn't even notice it, performed perfectly. It even looks a little bit darker for having been highlighted. Water, completely unaffected. You don't even notice where the water went down, but I guarantee you it was there for 30 seconds. This ink did not budge. And the pen flush, you only see a little bit of the ink smeared away when I went to pick it up. Otherwise, it's hard to tell where I put the pen flush on the page. Now, bleach, it's lifting a lot of the ink, but a lot of it is really staying behind. This is, to me, a very watch out kind of thing. Make sure you experiment with an inexpensive pen before just putting it into your expensive pens. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with a realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Diamine Registar's Blue Black has a viscosity of 1.73, making it very wet as an ink. To find my average dry time, I used my writing samples done with the extra fine and medium nib on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with a realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Diamine Registar's Blue Black has an average dry time of 19 seconds, despite it being so incredibly wet. Now, let's look at the writing samples. I picked this ink up in sample form, and to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairefontaine. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and really nice shading. It's very nice. You get lights to darks, back and forth. It's the camouflage shading that I love a lot. When shade looks like camouflage, beautiful. The extra fine is a noticeably lighter tone than the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and that great camouflage shading again. Amazing stuff. 14 seconds to dry, worth it. Extra fine is a lighter tone than the one, or than the medium is a lighter tone than the extra fine. The medium has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and that gorgeous camouflage shading throughout at 18 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both shows plenty of color variation, and we got it. And the smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Tomoe River, no bleeding, minor ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and we see that beautiful camouflage shading even on Tomoe River. The extra fine is a much lighter tone than the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen.
beautiful shading. It doesn't care that it's on Tomoe River. It's going to give a beautiful shade all the way through. Like what's going on with Quick. We get tons of very dark spots throughout. The down loop of the U, the K is very dark. The R in brown is very dark. The X in Fox, the HE in the, R in over. Amazing. And 21 seconds to dry, worth it. The extra fine is slightly darker than, or the medium is I can't do it. I can't. I don't know what's going on. The medium is slightly darker than the extra fine, which was way lighter than the 1.1. The medium falls in between the extra fine and the 1.1. The medium has no feather spread, halo sheen, camouflage shading. On Tomoe River, it doesn't care. Super dark, super light, super dark, super light, super dark, super light. And even some mid-tone areas. Wonderful. 26 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us plenty of color variation, and we got it. And the smear test, you could recover this. This is the perfect ink for this paper. Perfect. Oh my God. Rhodia. No bleeding, no ghosting. And I have to take a minute to point this out in the tones of these inks because it goes down. Bring this up a little closer. It goes down and it's a nice light blue and it dries to that gray black. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Absolutely, just wow. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and it has camouflage shading. When camouflage is in style, use this ink because you make it great. Amazing stuff. The extra fine is a slightly lighter tone than the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and great shading throughout all of it. Camouflage the whole way. Super dark, super light, super light, super dark, super light, super dark, light, dark, mid, dark. Nice. Brown starts dark and works its way light. Fox starts its way light and works its way dark. 16 seconds to dry. Medium is a darker tone. It's actually the same tones that we see with the 1.1. The medium has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and lovely, lovely camouflage shading throughout. Oh my God. Just so nice. Dark to light to dark to light to dark to light. Just wow. Fox starts really light and works its way dark, and 19 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us lots of color variation, and we got lots of color variation. And the smear test, you could definitely recover this if you smeared while you were writing. An original crown mill, nice laid paper, no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and it has that wonderful camouflage-like shading all over it. 9 seconds to dry. The medium is a dark tone, same dark tone that we got with the 1.1. It has no feather spread, halo sheen, camouflage shading. It looks so good. So good. Grays aren't my number one in colors. I know this should be like a black, but this gray to black, it's not my normal thing, but I love this one. I don't know. This one just stands out as amazing to me. 12 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us plenty of color variation, and we got plenty of color variation. And the smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Black and red notebooks, no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1, no feather, spread, halo, sheen, gorgeous, gorgeous camouflage shading. Just wow. Registrars starts nice and light, gets super dark, goes to mid to light to dark, all the way across. I mean, there's not enough to say about it. The extra fine is a way lighter tone. This is the worst performer right here of all of my writing. The extra fine has no feather spread, halo sheen, and only spots of shading. The K in the quick is a little darker. The B into the R area of brown is a little bit darker. The 11 is darker than the rest of the stuff around it, and that's like all the shading that I'm seeing on the extra fine. 11 seconds to dry. The medium is a much darker tone, little darker even than the 1.1. The medium has no feather spread, halo sheen, and very little shading. Again, there's little spots, like the T in the is darker than the rest of the. The bottom part and the top part of brown is lighter than the rest of the word brown. But other than that, we really don't see a lot of shading going on here. 13 seconds to dry. Now, the scrubby of the extra fine shows much more color variation than we actually see. The scrubby of the medium shows us none, and we about saw none. But the smear test, you could definitely recover if you smeared while you were writing. And limon paper, a big problem producer. But it has no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, lovely camouflage shading throughout all of this. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1. It offers no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 9 seconds, or no shade. Lovely camouflage shading throughout. Like the quick, it goes very light to dark on the U, to light on the C, super dark on the K. Brown is a mid-tone in the B, to super dark on the O, to mid-tone, to light on the right side of the W. Very dark on the N. Lovely stuff. 9 seconds to dry. Medium, no feather, spread, halo, sheen. Now here's the weird thing that happened in the shading. It is all super dark, except that part in the quick and the word over, which makes me feel like I had my thumb or something, that something was touching and affecting the page here, because it's right there. I'm wondering if I was handling the paper. I don't know, but it's only right there. Other than that, I'm calling this no shade because that looks like a freak accident. 11 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us really no color variation, and we didn't get any color variation. And the smear test you could definitely recover if you smeared while you were writing. And that is all that I have for the writing sample.
Instead of finding inks that look like Diamine's Registar's blue-black, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. Now, because it appears to me to be much more of a light green, I really wanted a dark green, and I chose Krishna's Ghat Green, because I was feeling kind of monochromatic in this particular state. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Diamine's Registar's blue-black? Well, it's green. That being said, this is a great permanent ink that really shows off its color changing as it dries on the paper, which is pretty neat. Its permanence is what stands out for me over anything else. If you do need a good permanent ink, this is a great one for it. And it's not the normal permanent of black or blue. Although it says it's a blue-black, it comes across as green, and that's what makes it kind of neat to me. Thanks for watching.